Welcome to Money Conversations with KJ. KJ is a lifelong entrepreneur who's made a lot of money, lost a lot of money, and found his way back again. If you're looking for a sterile how-to, you're in the wrong place. KJ and his guests will walk you through real-life situations told by the people who live them, and they are as messy as they are inspiring. Each episode will offer lessons learned, advice on how to replicate successes and avoid pitfalls, and a new perspective to power your financial literacy. Far from a one-size-fits-all, this podcast can help you build a roadmap to your personal promised land. Milk and honey for some, whiskey and steak for others, and remind you that you're not alone on this journey.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. I know I've been off for a couple of weeks, just some private things going on in my life, but I got a really cool guest coming on here, Joelle, that we recently just met because we're both in the real estate investing arena. And I thought she'd be a great guest to come on, share her story. So I'm going to be honest with you guys right now. I don't know her story other than she's a real estate investor. She's kind of moved around the country a little bit and then landed here in Las Vegas. So we're going to learn a lot of cool things. So, Joe, welcome to the show.
What's up? Do I look like I'm lost?
Not at all. You look great.
Okay, because I'm like, it's things back here. I'm trying to make it good. Okay, what's going on, KJ? And money conversations.
Yeah, we're gonna have ourselves a nice conversation right now, and hopefully we can, through your journey and some of the questions I'll ask you, people will learn, have some good takeaways, right? Because I really believe that whatever your story may be, there's going to be however many people out there that are having kind of the same parallel story as yours, and anything that you can share that will give somebody else an aha moment kind of thing would be really good, right?
Let's do it. Yep.
So first, I want to ask you, always my first go-to question. So I want to have people understanding, learning about financial literacy is something that we all should have learned early in life, but unfortunately we haven't. And there's a reason for that. So the first question is, can you remember the first time that your parents, mom or dad, or both they did it together, possibly, sat you down and talked about money?
Nope. I'm remembering hearing about saving, but I remember when my mom gave me, I think I had some kind of joint bank account with her, and she gave me a debit card.
Oh, how old were you when that happened?
I feel like I was like 15. I feel like it might have been 14.
Yeah.
14, 15. Evidently old enough to ride down and train and meet people with fake checks and get the account overdrawn. It was bad. Right.
So, and again, I've heard that story before from others. I have kids. I'm not sure. Do you have kids?
My husband. Yeah, we have kids.
Would you give a 14-year-old a debit card?
I believe that they have one. I believe they were able to open their bank accounts when they were 13, and their dad put allowance in there, and it was supposed to be certain amount for savings and certain amount for, say you want a certain thing for your birthday, or buy your friends something for their birthdays, or participate in different school events, or if everybody's doing a mall trip or something like that, you'll be able to have some access to something. And when you spend it, and if you don't save it, then you won't have anything.
Well, I mean, one, kudos to him for doing that at 13 years old, right? At their kids around 13 years old. That's really good, because that's their first money lesson, right? And I find through conversation that, like in your case, if mom and dad didn't actually sit you down, how do you believe your money habits that you have now, or maybe in your early 20s, how do you think those money habits came about?
Guess and check and cry.
Right. I talk to people who tell me things like, and I find out this. So if mom and dad didn't talk to you about money, usually what happens is we emulate, right? If mom was a saver, you're a saver. If mom was a spender, you're a spender, because it's subconsciously in our minds. And we really start looking at money, believe it or not, around age 5, right? These 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds, they're watching what we're doing on every level, right? Including what we do or don't do with money. if we're always, there's parents out there that are always saying things like money doesn't grow on trees, or mom's got no money,
Yeah.
or, just whatever they're going to say about money starts shaping how we believe money is to be used.
Well, I had a lot of we don't have a lot type of thing,
Conversations. Yep.
conversations. My mom is a saver, but within that, there is no save for what? It's kind of a rainy day type thing that we don't really understand what that means. It's not necessarily discretion versus emergency fund versus we're saving for investments or and
Right.
what to invest in. That's a whole thing,
So that's really great what you just described, right? Because you described what I teach is, listen, we need to save for a purpose. And there's lots of purposes for saving, right? It's saving for, hey, I want to buy a house, so I need to save that money. I want to buy a new car. I need, the things that you want or the things that you need, investing, all these things we need to save for a purpose, not for, like you said, I've heard that term too, we're saving for a rainy day. Well, what does that even mean? Think about it. Right?
Right.
What does that mean, right? So you heard those things. Did you, when you were a young adult, I would say whenever you went to work and started making money, how did you start to treat your money?
I remember before I had a lot of money, before I was working, I was kind of like the kid is like, I'm going to be rich and man, I'm going to get some money. I don't care what I got to do. I didn't know what that meant. Like, I'll do anything for money.
Right.
Probably wasn't a good mindset. But I was just wanting to be quote unquote rich. I don't know if I knew what rich was, but I knew I didn't want to be in the lack.
Right.
What I had understood was what we were. So I got to work, and I wanted to work, first of all, because I wanted things.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted school supplies, I wanted school clothes, and I heard from my mother that if they had money, my mom was single, so she had a little child support from my dad. It was for your upkeep, because I just couldn't understand why I'm not getting new school clothes. What is going on here?
Right.
We've got money, right? And it's like, that money is for your upkeep. And that meant to me, that's going to go to the bills and the rent and the roof over your head, food. I was like, okay, so I'll get a job and I'll be able to get clothes and shoes and be cute.
The things that you wanted. The things that you wanted.
Things that
right?
I wanted. It had nothing to do with necessities of life and safety, hierarchy of needs, or any of that.
Right.
Maybe exception. That was at the top. I was way above what I needed to be.
So I think sometimes in life, that's where our disconnect is when we're young, is listen, we want things from the time as far back as we can think, right? I want my bike. I want this clothing. I want. We don't really realize it takes parents. Obviously they work to take care of our food, shelter, and clothing. At what age do you think you recognized, wow, money isn't just for buying things. I've got to take care of myself.
Oh, maybe college.
Oh, yeah, you reflected and you're like, oh, well, here's the real world. Or
well, I had a scholarship and I had a little stipend, a little bitty bitty stipend. So I had to be tight with it. And if I didn't have my food or whatever, I had a dog. So I had to take care of another little being,
right.
So I had to learn that we can't blow it all on just fun stuff or clothes. Me and clothes. That's my thing.
Don't worry. I got 3 daughters. I've got 3 daughters. I know exactly what you're saying for sure. But right. When did you think, again, because we're going down a journey of your journey, which mom and dad didn't sit you actually down and teach you about money. And so you're figuring this thing out. And so now it's your early college years, you're starting to reflect. Do you remember, say, by that point in time in your life, that you did any kind of research homework? I've got to figure out this money thing. Did you do anything to kind of figure it out?
I felt I don't have a definitive moment, because I feel like whatever I was doing, I didn't do it enough. Like I might have saw a little bit here or some investing things here, but it was like maybe I felt like it was too much or out of reach. So I didn't like pursue it or find another way. Cause some people are like, okay, maybe this way is a little tough or there's some kind of a block there, but let me find a back way. I kind of got obsessed with just making money and graduating, and school and work is hard, and and just I just started to just be in a struggle all the time.
So reflecting back now, because you're in your mid 30s, what do you think you would tell your 20-year-old self right now? If you had to if you could talk to your 20-year-old self, what advice would you give
Oh,
about the money? You were making money. You were just starting
yeah.
college. What advice would you give yourself?
Well, I would give myself the advice of I would do more of follow the things that you love, because in high school I was in a performing arts high school, and I ended up going to a different college because I got the full scholarship to that college, but I didn't even try to go to a performing arts high school. So I was trying to do something like, oh, everybody says nursing makes money, go for nursing. So I didn't even care about what I was going to school for. So I ended up graduating another school 4 schools later for fashion and retail because I love fashion. But I was in for chorus and dance. So I was like no direction. And I would tell myself to focus and to really think about it. Like take a minute, think about it, and stop trying to rush to just get some money that you don't even know what you're gonna do with.
Right.
And then about the money, about that, when you're making the money, maybe you do take figure out some kind of a budget or a plan. I had no budget, I had no plan.
Right.
When I get it, if I spend it, I spend it, because I would save because my mommy was a saver.
Mhm.
But then like something fabulous happens and I spend it all. Like I saved it just to blow it.
Right.
So I wouldn't really have a plan with the money that I did make. And I didn't have a plan also on how to make that money or how to transition out of if you wanted to do something else. It just was winging it.
Well, and again, and that's a great term, winging it, right? But you were winging it subconsciously. You really didn't even realize. You probably thought at the time, this is normal. Everybody just tries to figure it out, right?
I must have, because I just, it's kind of like, what are the people doing around you? But also with that, I did have a few people say, get a house. I was a dancer. They said, get your legs insured. I tore 2 ACLs. Should have did that, but it just wasn't that important. It was just like, get the money. That's it. I just didn't.
Exactly. Again, that's why we have these conversations. That's why I named my program and everything I do, Money Conversations with KJ, because think about from the age of, let's call it 15 to 25 and 10-year span there. How many times can you recollect having an actual sit down money conversation, what I want to do with my money, what I need to do with my money, right? And those are really critical years. So
yeah.
if you didn't, and most don't, and so I always want to make sure that people understand, don't beat yourself up about it. It's unfortunately that it's normal that between that age, 15 to 25, no one's sitting you down. You really have to be so proactive about what to do with money, or you're going to do, or most people, like what you just described. Yes, I learned how to make money, and then I make money because I want things, right? So when you don't really think about your future when you're 15 to 25 years old, right? No. Talk to us about, when did you, in your mind, start to think, man, I got to start taking what I do with my money more seriously. I got to start thinking about my future, retirement, all those types of things. How old do you think you were when you actually started thinking that way?
I probably was 22 because I got a house at 21. Okay. And it was 06, and it was a predatory loan, and it was bad. So bad, they took it off of my credit.
Wow.
Because they were like, this is just bad. You know what I mean? It was just that. Thank God I don't have a foreclosure or anything on my or didn't have to have one. That was many years ago. Right. But that was kind of when I just started to just try to figure out some things. How are you even supposed, because my whole thing was like, I'm going to be great and I'm going to buy all the houses on the block and I'm going to fix them all up and everybody's just going to love me. I'm going to be a pillar of the community. Bought this house, it cost too damn much, and now I'm underwater. I am depressed and stressed and I don't know what to do. Like, I'm scared.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, yeah, retirement. And I had like CDs or IRA or a few, it just was a mess because it just wasn't any direction. And it was like, buy stuff. Even if it's a big house and you don't know what to do with the house or have any equity in the house, because that's how they were doing the loans, just taking it all out. And they were like, we'll pay you on the back end. They run out of the closing. Oh my God, what do I do? I've never even been in a closing.
Right.
It was crazy. But so that's when it was 21. I bought the house like a month before I turned 22. I was the last month of 21. And it just got scary, scary, scary.
Well, that's a big jump. Purchasing a home is generally most people's lifetime. That's going to be your largest purchase, right? And buying at 21, you've got, and then the next 40 years, you're going to buy multiple homes, hopefully, because the buying homes is a great strategy for growing wealth, right? Because you want to grow wealth through appreciation. So, but I'm trying to figure out this picture here. So obviously, you're a very motivated person as far as going to school. You were like not afraid to get your hands dirty. Let's go work, right? Obviously, it sounds to me like you built and have a great work ethic, which is definitely needed if you want to grow any kind of wealth. It takes work, right? We got to get out there and pound the pavement and do what we need to do that. And that's definitely, you're doing that, right? So as we're going through the cycle here and you're getting into your mid-20s, later 20s, I share with people anytime that you're going to be proactive and need to learn about what you're doing, right? There's got to be usually a point where you're like, okay, I can't figure this out on my own. I don't, there's the term, you don't know what you don't know, right? Like, did you go on the internet to try to teach yourself? Did you maybe possibly get a mentor? Mentors are so valuable to get mentors who can, guide you through your next level of your life. Did any of those things happen for you?
I got into some, I can't even remember the program. I got into some program, but the mentors weren't available. It was evidently not a good program.
Wow.
Because I knew I needed to do something or sell something or make some business and have somebody help me along the way. It just didn't work out that way, whatever it was. Because I just remember being on a phone call and they're like, "Are you going to be dedicated? Are you going to do this?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, I'm down. I'm ready. I got to make this right. I got to get this house right. I got to get my life together." And just, I don't know what happened. Nothing happened from that. There was a real estate guy. We were in Atlanta. That's where I grew up. And he was, I think he was promoting getting houses and renting them out. And his name was Luther Ragsdale. And I think he ended up being a fraud or something. I just got down the wrong. I was trying, but I just, when you don't know what you don't know and you don't know who to listen to or who to trust. I was reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. I was thinking Grow Rich. I was like, come on, we could do it. And it just wouldn't glue together.
I think there's so many people out there that can totally resonate with your story right there, right? That you are trying to do the right thing, right? And the right thing meaning I need to be on track with my finances and grow some wealth here. And you tried a few things, read a few books. Sounds like maybe you got, hooked in there with the wrong person or two possibly. And that's happened to thousands of people out there also. I just want to encourage the listeners. One, you're doing fantastic right now, right? That you came out of it, so to speak, that for you out there that are listening to the story, you're like, man, that's me. I just can't seem to figure it out and where to go. And this last one didn't work out. Like, one, we need to be patient, but two, obviously it's do your homework on everything. Yeah. And when you're getting ready to invest, wherever you're going to invest, do your homework on that investment. And the old adage, if it sounds too good to be true, it usually is, kind of thing.
Doing right? Your homework, your due diligence, like that's definitely the biggest takeaway. Like, how do you even make a big purchase like a home?
Right.
Period. And have a plan of what you want to do with it. period. Because maybe you do want to do a live in it for a year and rent it out, or you just want to rent it out, or how do you want to buy that? And the guy was like, yeah, I already did the inspection. It's okay. It's done. I'm like, whoa, do you know an inspector? Do you see
You're right. Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, just no taking words for stuff and just rolling with it.
No, don't trust anybody. Do your due diligence, do your homework, do everything when you're getting ready to invest your hard-earned dollars, right? It takes time to make money and chunks of money. At what age did you, or do you now even have an actual budget that you follow?
I do have it's a cute little budget. It is, but since my husband, sometimes he doesn't work, since COVID, it's kind of been a little like he just kind of got back going in June. And I'm kind of working on the business from home, and then I have like a little odd jobs here and there. So we know our the things that don't change in our budget, or the things that we have to pay, the rent, right. And things like that. And kind of just we just did something together, because we've been married for a year, but we were together for 5 years, but our finances weren't really together. So we just kind of got it on paper. Like, we have our little spreadsheet. I'm sure it could be way better, but we have it on a spreadsheet of the things to do, or that we need, and the amount of money we're going to need to do it, and what ain't going to happen and what is. And then we need some money to be saving, because I need to have some down payments and stuff. Then we have some credit card issues. So we kind of have it outlined.
So yeah, the reason I ask, so 100% definitely to really grow wealth. I like to use the analogy. It's like in any sport, whatever you're watching, there's a scoreboard, right? Like if you're watching the football game, imagine watching a football game. There was no scoreboard. You didn't know what quarter it is, how much time left in the game. You didn't know who was winning, right? If you didn't know any of that stuff, would that game be fun to watch?
Probably no, I don't know what the heck's going on.
You don't know what's going on. My budget. It'd be fun to watch. So for you guys that are out there, I like to use an analogy because you could relate. It makes sense, right? And think of your budget as your scorecard. Like, where am I, right?
Yeah.
If you don't know where you are, likely you get in trouble. Like,
so that was the whole thing. Like, I'm tired of being lost.
Yeah, right.
we got to find ourselves. Where are we? What's the score here?
What's the score? But I also share with folks out there, listen, in today's world with all the technology we have, which is so much, people, if you need a budget, and I hear people tell me, well, I don't make enough money to have a budget. I'm like, if you make $2, you got a budget, right? And there's tools out there. I'll just give you one as an example. Have you heard of Mint?
I did. I just read a book and she mentioned that.
So Mint, which is great. It's an app on your phone. It's super easy. It's free. First and foremost, it's free. Okay. Yeah. And to get into yourself and get some of you guys out there who have no budget whatsoever, you don't even know where to start with a budget, how a budget works, because it's numbers, it's math, and some people hate numbers and math, right? I mean, I love numbers and math.
I love numbers.
But a lot of people don't like numbers, and it's in any time in life when something's overwhelming to us, what do? We run away from it. We go the other direction. So Mint is really cool because we all have our smartphones. There's an app in there. You just go download the app, Mint, right? The Mint app. And all you need to do is plug in the way that you pay for things, debit cards, credit cards, right? And every time you use them, and that information automatically goes in that app. Like it puts it in there for you, because part of the old school way of budgeting is you needed to go find all of your receipts. I spent the money here, I spent the money there. And it's time consuming, and like, who wants to do that kind of stuff, right? And so these apps, this technology that does it all for you, right? Builds you an app. At the end of the month, you get to look like, hey, I made $3,000 last month. I have no money and my bills are only $1,500. Where did my money go? Right? That's what people always, who don't have an actual budget, they ask themselves, where did my money go? I made good money last month and I don't have any. Well, when you use an app like Mint, and it automatically puts it in there for you at the end of the month, you could look back and be like, holy crap, I spent $272 on Starbucks, right? Like, whoa, I need to cut my Starbucks habit down, right? Or I spent too much money going out for lunch, or I bought this or that, right? You can at least look back and say, okay, I need to make some changes. So next month, I'm making the same amount of money. I'm not going to spend the money that I did last month on things that I probably shouldn't have done, right? And create better spending habits. Now, all that said, easier said than done, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we wake up every day, and I talked to my youngest daughter about this. I'm like, what'd you spend yesterday? Like, just mentally ask yourself, what did I spend yesterday? And more times than not, if you say, I didn't spend no money yesterday. Yes, that's what you want. If you wake up every day going, yeah, yesterday I bought this, that, and this and that, and you're like, okay, you spent $200, but you only make 100 a day. You're negative 100. Like, how many days of the month did you do that? Right? That's like simple math. So having to be very conscious about your spending habits and what you do. But now an app like Mint, where you can reflect and look back and it starts to make sense to you, you will change your money habits. You will start to have money 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months later. You're like, I totally treat my money different now, and I have money. And how does it make you feel when you have money? When you have extra money, how do you feel?
You can breathe.
Right.
I can breathe. I can let that sit there, because now I know how to control myself, or, what I've been not even noticing that I've been out of control with, that now I don't even care about, because I was like, oh, I don't need that. Cut that.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's good to treat ourselves to whatever it is that we want to treat ourselves to. We just have to be aware of where you're at. And again, you don't have to wait till the end of the month to see how much money you spend when you have this app Mint. You can look at it whenever and be like, whoa, I got to slow down. Right. So I really think that, and that's just one example. There's just so many different apps out there that are free. Like, there's goal setting apps, right? And goal setting apps are great because we all should live following some sort of a goal. We should not live not having goals. And there's all kinds of goals to have, right? Finance goals, personal goals, future goals, all these things. But when these apps are really cool, these goal setting apps, because they can alert you. So if you have the smartphone, and let's say you have a smartwatch, which a lot of people do, but you don't have to have the smartwatch, it will alert you when you hit a goal or you're close to hitting the goal, right? And it's like in a race. If you race anything, you're like, I can see the finish line, right?
Totally. Yeah, the Fitbit used to do that. Well, it does it, but I don't wear my Fitbit. So
yeah. So all of these things that can help us out there, and these tools are great for us. Again, so many people started their journey with money just like you when you were younger. Unfortunately, mom and dad didn't sit you down. But I say, don't worry, don't hate mom and dad for that, for sure, because I also say, I have a phrase, mom and dad can't teach what mom and dad don't know.
Yep.
So if mom and dad couldn't teach you, it's because they didn't know.
Exactly.
And that's not good or bad. Unfortunately, that's just what is, right? All we can do now is, like you mentioned earlier, your husband obviously had some sort of a conversation with his 13-year-old about this debit card, use it responsibly. This is how I want you to use it. This is how I definitely don't want you to use it, kind of a conversation he probably had with her.
So he had that with two girls. Okay. And because the oldest one got the bank account first, because she turned 13 first. And then the next one is 2 years after. And she had been like, why do I have to wait? Sissy got hers for, and all this. But and so then the last time we had a talk, it was about learning about real estate and what to do with your funds. Also, the youngest one, like I said, she's not really interested in school and college. Like the oldest one is interested in being a doctor. So she likes to do things. She likes to do hair. She likes to do nails. So we're like, okay, you can do your business, and we can, support that and make sure that you're saving this money. And so you can invest in something later, and we'll teach you about that and about a budget. And, you can be included in the family budget and what's going on and how we're spending money. And when you're asking for something, where that money is coming from, and or how you can make yourself some money to do some things and also put something to the side. Because if you're going to do hair or nails, you're going to have to buy your supplies, and
Well,
all of that. And so
I'm glad to hear that you're having the conversation, because you're in the space now, right, of real estate investing. And so the fact that you're talking to a young lady at that age about investing, the lesson here is that everybody needs to understand we need to make money, right? And that's what investing is, right? We're investing we're putting $1 in to try to get 5 out, kind of a thing, right? That's investing. And the fact that a 13-year-old is being exposed to investing will pay her dividends in her near future, like in the next 5 to 10, right? She doesn't have to wait. A lot of people don't think about investing until they're 40 plus years old. They're like, well, what do you mean I got to invest? I thought I just had a job and I'm good. I'm like, no. You must, if you want to have any kind of wealth, right? If you want to be rich, right? Your money has to make money. It's all, for most people, it's nearly impossible to trade time for money and become wealthy. This is not going to happen, right? Money makes money. And the sooner that you learn that lesson, the better. So the fact that you're teaching it to her at 13, if we were to have if she were to have a conversation like we're having now, and she could say, yeah, when I was 13, my parents taught me about investing. Like, wow, that's awesome. Right. So, now that you're in the investing realm and in the real estate space, because people put to work, the people who ultimately can become financially free have their money in either the real estate market or the stock market, or sometimes both, right? Are you involved in both arenas or just one?
I tried stocks. So, and I have an uncle who just happened to give me some. So I have some stocks, and it's a long-term position that I really just don't pay attention too much to it, check in on it, and then I just add to it, and it's okay. And it really isn't moving a lot or moving fast.
Right.
But I was interested in penny stocks and stuff like that. So I made a little bit of money, then lost the rest. And right now stocks are just not what I'm focused on.
Right now it's not, but I want folks to understand that which either arena that you choose, they both require a lot of homework. Like, I know you're doing a lot of homework right now to be a real estate investor, and it's a lot of information. It's a lot of homework to become proficient at it, right? The same goes with, again, you put some time into the stocks. I mean, that's follow the moving bouncing ball, right? It's hard to do. But if we listen to people like maybe a Warren Buffett, or a really good book to read would be Tony Robbins' book, Unshakable, an unbelievable great book, because we believe the experts, the multi-billionaires guys are going to share with you. They shared this with Tony in his book. Like, everybody should have some money in the market, because you're betting on America. When you have your money in the stock market, you're betting on America, and America is always going to be your best bet. Right. But there's multiple ways to play that game. Like, you tried it in the arena of the penny stocks. People try to go out there and pick stocks because you heard it from a friend or a friend's friend. Hey, go buy this stock. It's getting ready to blow up or something, right?
Right.
And their advice is, listen, get yourself an index fund, a couple of index funds, and a Roth IRA, and then go do about your other business. You don't need to come in here and try to play this game on a daily purpose, because it's a very difficult game. It takes a lot of daily homework to win in that arena. Ray Dalio, he'll tell you. I mean, that guy's. If you don't like to read, I say don't go into that arena, because those guys need to read a lot. But you're in the real estate space. What have you put at what age were you when you said to yourself, I've got to start thinking about my retirement and what I want to do in the later years, and what kind of action did you take towards that?
I think that still was around the 21, 22 age, because I had just that with the house, I just had been like overworking, and I still was trying to graduate. At this time, I'm at college number 4, and I'm like, okay, we gotta finish something. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to get better at this completion and persistence and this thing that I don't quit things and I just kind of stick with it and try to get better at it, so that was kind of something that was going on. And I had a Roth IRA, and I had one of the jobs that I did have. I'm trying to think. I went to a few colleges and then I went to New York. Before I went to New York, I was at a job, a little kids clothing store, and they had a matching, and they put money in an account, in a Fidelity account.
Mhm.
And so I was saving for retirement, but I didn't know it. And so when I left that job, then the Fidelity like called me or sent me something, and I had like, I don't know, $1,700 in there. And I was like, what is this money? I don't know what to do. Let's take it out.
Those types of accounts are long-term accounts. So Roth IRA, you should hold for your whole life. And even if it was $1,700, I'll give you an example. Your Roth IRA is in many sectors, your money. The S&P 500 over time averages 8% a year. I can share with you the S&P 500 over the last 3 years has been double digits. Like this year is at 22 or 23%. Your money's growing, which is absolutely incredible. To grow money at double digits is the goal, right? And the only way to understand that is to really understand how compounding works, right? Compounding, which is the rule of 72. And Albert Einstein says, he who understands it earns it, he who doesn't pays it. Because once you really understand how money compounds, you're going to treat your money much differently. So did you ultimately just close that account?
I did.
Yeah. Because if you would have and how many years ago was that?
Roughly? Oh my God. 2011, 10 years.
So 10 years. Do you know that that's $1,700 10 years later with what the market's done in the last 6 years could be worth in the neighborhood of about $15,000 to $20,000. Yeah. And you didn't do anything. You would have just let it sit there.
No. Yep. That would have been great. 15 for free. Because I think the job was doing it, and it was something, a little piece of it from me, and they were just doing it.
Yeah.
So I wasn't even noticing it was missing, or you know what I mean, happening.
Right. Yeah. But understanding the Roth IRA, it's funny. I went out on the boulevard here a few weeks ago to talk to people and ask 3 questions. I paid people $10. I said, if you answer these 3, I'll give you $10 to answer 3 questions, right?
Yeah.
One, it was hard to get anybody to answer questions for $10. I was like, man, it's a free $10. I said, I don't even want to know your name. You don't even have to tell me your name, because a lot of people think that you want something. I'm trying to sell you something. I said, no, I'm just gathering information. And so anyway, that was one of the questions that I asked of the 3. Do you know the difference between an IRA and a Roth IRA? Because it's really important to know these things when you're trying to grow money. And that's our jobs now, right? Your job, everybody's job out there who's making a living, doing whatever you're making money at, is to put your money to work. You need to know the vehicles and why you put your money in certain vehicles. And it's really simple, but nobody can answer the question. And a lot of people don't even know what an IRA is, right? IRA stands for individual retirement account. And there's just 2 different kinds. So I highly suggest that you reopen a Roth IRA and start funding it, because growing money is based on time. And so you just lost 10 years of time.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
Right. Don't worry. Most people at the age of 30 that reflect back, you lost that 10 years. When you lose 10 years between the age of 20 and 30 of growing money, later 20, when you're in your 50s or early 60s, that totally could equate to hundreds of thousands of dollars. And what are we not going to get back in our lifetime? Time. We don't get it back. We can't make that happen again. So it's real important. So you have right now things in place for retirement for later?
I have an Ellevest account. So they do something like that, what was going on with the job, and they invested in a few funds. So I have that, and I have the stock from my uncle, which I was thinking of redirecting that.
Yeah, rolling it over. Yeah.
Yeah. I was also reading on, I think, what would the Rockefellers do about life insurance or full life or something? Is that even a thing that people still do?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great subject, great question for life insurance. So now that you're married and you have a spouse and kids, right? Life insurance is very important. It's really important to understand the two different types of life insurance, what they really mean. And most people don't. There's either whole life insurance or term life insurance. And rather than me getting into, because I could go way off on this subject, I
Okay.
recommend you and anybody listening, you head over to YouTube and Google. You could either Google Dave Ramsey or Susie Orman and then say whole life insurance, right? Dave Ramsey, whole life insurance, and or Susie
Mm.
Orman. And what you're going to hear, they're going to they go off on it really hard because they hate that product so much. Um, but you do need life insurance. And so the short answer is you need term life insurance, right? Understanding what life insurance is for. Life insurance isn't for you. You will never see the benefit of life insurance. Life insurance is
Right.
for the beneficiary.
Right. So they were talking about being able to do things like have your child or grandchild be able to borrow from it for school and pay it back, and then you can pay yourself interest
You can
because
do
you
that
don't
with a
have.
lot of tools. Whole life insurance there's many different types of whole life insurance. There are some vehicles out there in the whole life arena that are good for, and I always just suggest for people who have a lot of money and they're trying to park their money to grow money, because when people have multi millions of dollars, their job is like, where am I going to I have to put all this money somewhere to work. I cannot leave it in any kind of bank because the bank's not going to give you anything. They don't even give you 1%. So they're always looking for ways to grow money. And it's great when you got a lot of money to use one of those vehicles. It is not great to use when you're young, kids, you don't make a lot of money. The premiums are like you typically 3 to 4 times more money than a term policy. And for the best description and analogy that I like to use is you never want to mix oil and water together, right? You got to keep those separate. Well, anytime, and this is what Susie Orman and Dave Ramsey tell you, don't mix your savings, right, with your life insurance policy. You don't want to mix those two together. You're going to do a lot better separating them and growing that, protecting yourself one way and growing your money the other way. The biggest beneficiary of most of those policies is the person who sold it to you. They make really good commissions on it.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. And also life insurance is based on how old you are, how much they're going to charge you. The older you are, the more it costs. So when you buy life insurance in your early 20s, because the odds of you dying are like really, high or low for you to die. So you can buy it really cheap. When you start hitting around the age of 40, it starts to be a little bit expensive, and especially whole life. And listen, I'm not a fan of any kind of insurance. We just need it, right? Car insurance, life insurance, health insurance. We need all that stuff because everything's so darn expensive. But Google that, not Google, but go to YouTube and ask that, and they'll dig right in and explain to you why you do not want whole life insurance.
Okay, I'll dig around.
Yeah. Again, for everybody listening, because I could spend 30 minutes just on that conversation. It drives me nuts. But I think for a lot of the folks out there listening, I think your story is very parallel with so many people that are out there and they're figuring out what I need to do, right? You in your early 20s, you just want to finish things. Sounds like you got a grasp on what you wanted to do around 30-ish or whatever. And now you're newly married. Congratulations. A couple of, 13-year-old and stuff around the house, which is great. It's your responsibility now to teach them, right?
Right.
What kind of conversations, what other kind of conversations have you guys had besides that investing one with the kids?
Well, it's been kind of like they don't want us to have another little baby because we want little baby, because those are from a previous relationship. So, but which is great. Kids are great wherever they come from. Because so we're going to have to like really just be super hands-on in what is going on and how to afford a child there, because they just like, well, babies are expensive and you guys are too old to have kids. We're going to change your diapers and the baby's diapers. They're like freaking out.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So it's about of how to raise a family or have a family, or the business of running a family.
Yes.
You know, and everything else. So because the babies, the younger one is like, well, the oldest daughter can't go out. She's going to spend too much money on trying to go to parties. I have to be there, and you guys can't have babies because I have to be. I don't know why she just has all the responsibility. She has to take care of us herself. And her big sister.
Wow.
So about just how to balance the whole life of family and work and taking care of people and loving them and also letting them live their lives.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, that's a really critical age, 13 to 16, because we're growing our independence, right? You really want to be independent at those ages. You're like, I've got this now, mom, right? I don't need your help to do X, Y, Z. Again, my kids I got them from 22 to 38. So I remember all those days and teaching them things about time, money, responsibility, right? Being independent. I raised my kids very independent. They're very independent people at this point. But yeah, you've got a lot to teach out there. We always have a lot to teach our kids, the basics, right from wrong, being nice, right? All these great lessons that we need to teach our kids. But unfortunately, in your firsthand, like many, mom and dad didn't sit you down and prep you for the real world with money. And money, unfortunately, dictates everything that we can and cannot do. Right?
It dictates a lot. It dictates a lot. So the thing about the youngest one right now is finding her, I would say her passion, but just one of them or one of her talents and just kind of digging in on that. Cause I feel like the daddy'll do it is in her blood. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't have to, daddy'll do it type thing. So we're working on that.
She's still young and, she'll find hers. But kids emulate us. And so if they see you guys just working, having great work ethic, to do the best that you can in life, I mean, they'll emulate that. They should be very good, strong young ladies and get out there and do what their passions are following. Right. Well, shoot, Joe, we just had a really good conversation. I think the takeaways out there are definitely work ethic. Number one, you went after life with both hands right away early. I think that's huge. It's probably why you are where you are today. You weren't afraid to try things, right? And so for you guys out there, don't be afraid. Sometimes it could be stressful and fear to jump into the next thing, but you clearly didn't do that. I think you're an amazing lady and you're going to do amazing things. So again, thanks for coming out and joining me on this podcast.
Thanks for having me.
All right, guys, if you enjoyed what you just heard, which I'm sure you did, listen, head on over. You can watch this on my YouTube channel, Money Conversations with KJ on the YouTube channel. And it'll be out on the podcast platform in about 2 weeks. You can hear it on almost any platform out there, Spotify, Apple, or any of them. So until we talk again, don't forget also to go to my website. I have some new things over there, some trainings for you. That's also at moneyconversationswithkj.com. And I'll see you guys on the next recording.
Hey everybody, hope you enjoyed that episode. Really enjoyed making all these episodes for you. Remember, we're just having conversations with people's journey with money and the things they did right with it, the things that did wrong with it, and how did they really come about getting their mindset with money. So every episode's different. We all have a good takeaway from them. So do me a favor, hit the like button, smash the like button, and subscribe to my channel because every episode that I do is going to be different as all our journeys are different. So you guys take care, and we'll talk to you next week.